This video is just about my favorite account, the Roth IRA. So let's hop into it, and I'm going to tell you the exact portfolio amount that I have now and how much I've contributed. I opened up my Roth IRA back in college, but I didn't really know what I was doing. And over the last 10 years, I've definitely been more aggressive about utilizing this account and actually putting money into it. So over the last 10 years specifically, I have invested $44,638.49. That is how much I put in, over $44,000 into this account. A Roth IRA is capped each year, and some years it has been $5,000, $6,000, $6,500, and $7,000 in the last couple years, but there is always a maximum that you can contribute to these accounts. So that is part of why my contributions are that amount, and partly because I didn't always invest in this account properly. My current balance of this Roth IRA in total is $91,036.56. So I am getting much closer to that $100,000 invested in this account specifically, but right now we're just over $91,000. So my total gains on this account are $35,894. This is from market growth and dividends, so compound interest over time. Quick disclaimer, this is not personal finance advice, and this is just my experience as someone that had to teach myself about these types of accounts and investing in general. Please, please, please do your own research before making any investment decisions. Do not blindly trust anyone on the internet, and honestly, if you're thinking of getting financial advice from me, your main advice here is going to be what not to do. So first, I want to talk about how I got started investing, and I actually got started when I was 18. At age 18, I had a somewhat unique circumstance where I had been promised a paid-for college experience, and then I suddenly did not have that promise being fulfilled. So I was left taking on student loans and realizing that I knew nothing about money, and the money I had been promised was not coming to me. I knew that I was in a really bad place and I knew nothing about money. So I started reading some books and looking online for resources on what to do. I was honestly pretty scared at that point because I knew I was taking on debt. I was working, I'd been working since 16 and I had some money saved, but I knew I was not in a place where I was going to be well off. So I read about some things and I opened up a savings account and a Roth IRA on the same day. And I decided to put some of the money that I had earned from my jobs into that account. That was actually a great decision. Not many 18-year-olds are opening up Roth IRAs, and I was really proud of myself. And I put some money in, and I sometimes added to this account over the next couple years while I was in college. Not much because I didn't make much. And then when I graduated and could not find a job, I tried to contribute where I could. But over the first maybe 5 to 10 years of this account, I did not contribute a ton. My first mistake with this account was when I was about 24 years old. I had been contributing a little bit during college and then my first couple of years working. So I had about maybe $10,000 and I withdrew some of my money that I had put in. After 5 years with a Roth IRA, you can withdraw your contributions. So I withdrew $5,000 to purchase my first home. And then I lost my job. I lost the house I was buying. The mortgage fell through. And because I had lost my job, I did not have money to actually live on. So the money I'd withdrawn to purchase this house ended up being what I lived on. This was not a great time in my life. It was actually really horrible and a terrible situation. And the money I had thought I was going to make a good choice with and put into an investment in a home ended up being just wiped out of my Roth IRA and spent on living expenses. Of course, hindsight is 20/20, so looking back, I can see that taking money out and then not using it for another investment and instead spending it was not the best choice. I should have just immediately put this back in, figured it all out, but at the time, it felt like what was the right decision. No one really expects to lose their job, especially when they're purchasing a home. So it really came out of left field and completely derailed my investments and everything about my plan. So that brings us up to 2015, where this video picks up, and I'm going to show you what I invested from 2015 to now 2025, the last 10 years, and how I have gone from the good and bad decisions of my early 20s to where I am now in my late 30s, and how that's changed. So now I'm actually going to hop over to my actual account so I can show you guys what I have earned in the last year and the last 10 years, along with how much I contributed each year. I think this makes a big difference to actually see someone's contributions over time, because some of these years I maxed out my Roth IRA and some of these years I only contributed $200. So I want to show you what that has done to my account and what it looks like now with those contributions, those varying contributions. My Roth IRA is invested at Vanguard. I like Vanguard and Fidelity if you want a brokerage that has a good track record with customers and good funds. And we are on the performance tab of my Roth IRA. Like I said, last year, 2024 was a great year for this account, and my investment returns were $20,314.14. That was a rate of return of 31.3%. That's crazy, right? At the beginning of 2024, I only had $63,872.42 in this account. I put in for 2024 $6,850. Part of that was my 2023 contribution, maxing that out. And then part of it was the 2024 contributions. I did not finish maxing this out until January of 2025. But even though I started the year at $63,000, I ended the year at $91,036.56. So that was a really fantastic year. You can see as you scroll across kind of how it goes up and how we end the year with over $20,000. And that was a really great year for this account. So investment returns were good in 2024, but that's just 1 year. If we look back at the 3-year, we can see that we had some cumulative negative returns. In 22 and 23, the beginning, actually almost all of 2023, my returns were not great. I was adding money, I was contributing, but the returns, not the best. When we look back at the 5-year, we can see the rate of return is 10% on our money, and we had investment returns overall of $27,099.41. So we had, some down in 2020 with COVID times, and then the market was really, really good in 2020 and 2021. So we had investment returns there, but then we had another dip in 2022. And then we kind of had the past year where we had that 30% return rate, and we really skyrocketed from that negative returns a couple of years ago. So returns are great, but what exactly is this invested in? So if I hop over to my holdings page, you can see exactly what I'm invested in. I currently mostly have everything invested in VTSAX. About 73% of my portfolio, or $67,000, is invested in this. I do also have VGT, which was something that was rolled over. And I did play with buying particular individual stocks for a while, but I have eliminated all of that. And the only one I did not sell was Apple, just because I love Apple. Everything I'm using is Apple, and I didn't want to sell it. I just didn't. I had an emotional tie to that one, so I kept it. But I got rid of everything else that was an individual stock, and I still have $17,000 worth of Apple stock, and I have made money on that, and I did make money on most of the individual stocks I bought, but tracking everything and trying to sell before things went south and trying to make the best returns was not for me. So I mainly invest in index funds, and I probably should just go ahead and get rid of the VGT and put it in VTSAX, because that is a total stock market fund, and it's what I really like for this account, but I haven't. I've just left it, and that's what my current portfolio is mainly VTSAX. So if I hop back over to my performance tab, we can actually scroll down and we can see a lot more information. So I can show you the last 10 years of my contributions, and I'll go year by year so you can kind of see what happened over the last 10 years and where we did well and where things kind of started to change. Like I said, I did start contributing to this when I was 18, but then that was way back in the day. And then by 2015, I had a balance of $10,500. So we're going to kind of look from where it goes from $10,000 to $91,000 over the years. And some of these years I did not contribute a lot. So let's look into it. So I had lost my job in 2014, and for a while in 2015, I was not contributing a lot. I did not contribute anything for the first bit of the year. Then I started to contribute once I was doing some freelance work and making a little bit more money. It wasn't a ton of contributions. It was like 100, 300, just whatever I could put in. In 2015, my total contributions, all of this added up, was $1,400. And the actual yearly contribution that year that I could have maxed this out was $5,500. So I did the best with what I could. Then in 2016, I got a full-time job. I was doing great. So if we scroll up, you can see where I got the job. My first month working that job was January of 2016, and I put in $100, but then 600, 1,100, 800. And then it kind of dropped back down as I was getting used to all of my new expenses, because I also got married that year. I got married in around this time. When did I get married? I got married around this time, and I actually bought my first home. I did finally buy my first home in 2016. It was a couple years after my first failed attempt by myself when I was single. And then I was getting married, and I believe we bought this house in June or July. I can't remember the months on anything that year apparently, but I bought my first home around this time, so I wasn't contributing as much here. But I did have a full-time job, so I contributed steadily over the year. And at the end of 2016, I had contributed $4,400. And again, the contribution max that year was $5,500. So I was getting closer to maxing it out, so that felt better and it felt more comfortable. And I was like finally getting back into things. But then the next couple of years, I did not really continue that process. So in 2017, let's scroll up to 2017, I did contribute throughout the year, but it wasn't a ton. I did $200, $450, $375, $175, $150. And then for some reason this month, I did not contribute at all. And then I kind of did $50, $200, around $100. I did not contribute a ton in 2017. And I'll be honest, I don't remember why. I wish I could tell you. I knew when I lost my job why I wasn't contributing, but why did I not add money in 2017? I don't know. I did start contributing at this time to a Roth 401k at my work. So I was putting a little bit into that. So that kind of balances it out a little bit, but I'm not sure why I didn't contribute more this year in 2017. And I wish I had. That money would have grown so much by now. And I can't go back and put money in then. But for some reason that year, I guess I just wasn't adding as much. Actually, thinking back, I started YouTube in around 2016. So I think in 2017, I was paying off my car loan. I believe I was prioritizing debt over this, and that is why, I'm pretty sure. So in 2017, I only contributed $2,125 with all of this together. So I didn't contribute the most I could, obviously. But the max that year was $5,500. So I could have put in $5,500. I put in less than half of that. And then the next 2 years, I really just went crazy the wrong way, because in 2018, I did not contribute much at all. As you can see, I did put in a little bit. So like 150, 50, 100, 100. I did kind of put money in when I could, but I also had a baby in this time frame. So midway through the year, I had my first baby. And babies are expensive, and adjusting to that and adjusting to paying for daycare, which was a huge expense and pretty much took away my Roth IRA contributions. That's where we were at. I just didn't contribute much in 2018. And I did contribute overall with all of this together, $900. But the max that year was, again, $5,500. Then when we look at 2019, I actually contributed even less. So I don't know what I was doing in 2019 other than I did switch to paying off debt mode. So in 2019, I did really focus on paying off debt. I paid off student loans, a credit card, just a mix of different things, like had a little mix of different loans. Most of it was student loans, and I just wanted to get rid of those entirely. So in 2019, I did focus on getting rid of student loans finally, because I was over 30 and my rates on those were like 7.8%. They were not great rates. They were, growing rapidly, and they had grown over time. So I finally got rid of those, but I did not contribute much to my retirement at all. Looking back now, of course, I wish I'd kind of balanced that a little bit better. I'm much better these days at figuring out the balance between things. But back then, I was really focused on debt payoff. And because of that, I only contributed $200 in 2019. I contributed 100 here, 50 and 50, and then nothing, 20, and then 80. Honestly, not sure why I did those amounts in those months, but that's what I did. So $200 total for the year. That was also the year that the max went up to $6,000, so it was a lot higher, which is great for anyone that maxed it out that year. Then in 2020, it was another year I was focused on paying off debt, but I was also kind of starting to finally make money with YouTube, and I was making money with YouTube and my full-time job. So I was able to both pay off debt and contribute more to retirement at the same time. And I did that basically in March, I guess March of 2020. I was like, what am I doing? I should be contributing to that Roth IRA I started over there. So I did, and I had 100 and then kind of increased it to 500, kind of 400 or 500 every single month, which is great. I was really happy I did that. And then 47.73 in the last month for some reason. And so in 2020, I actually contributed a lot more. That was kind of when I got back on what I considered my normal kind of amount, something every month. And I contributed $3,887.73. So the max that year for your Roth IRA was $6,000, and I did not hit that. I did less than that. But because I was doing well and I paid off my debt in December 2020, this is when I finally paid off my debt. The next month, in January of the next year, I was able to go back and max out my 2020 contribution. So you can see that when we scroll up, that's a huge number in January of 2021. And I did put in more right then to max out the previous year. So I did contribute $2,562.27 in January of 2021, which is a huge amount for this account, obviously. And that amount maxed out 2020 and started me on 2021's contributions. I did manage that because I had paid off my debt. So in December of 2020, no more debt payments. Yay, I could put everything toward investments. I also got a bonus in December of 2020 from my job. I got a bonus every year in December. So that is basically what I did with my bonus. I just put it all toward this. And then because I was also working full time and I was making more money on YouTube because I was posting more and things were doing well, I was making the most money I've made ever in 2021. So I went crazy with this account and maxed out as much as I could, as early as I could. So in July, basically, of the year, I had maxed out both the previous year, 2020, and 2021. So that was a really great year for me with my Roth IRA contributions. I put in $3,440 in July of 2021. And I did that because I knew that in August of 2021, I was quitting my full-time job. So basically here, these months, I was working 2 full-time jobs, more or less. And I had my baby that year, my second baby that year as well. So I knew I was quitting my job. I just couldn't do all of it. I couldn't do 2 jobs, 2 kids. So I did quit my job right here where it contributed 0. And because I quit my job, I then rolled over my Roth 401k contributions to this account. So that's what you can see in September. I had already maxed out my accounts for the year. I had already maxed out 2021. And actually in 2021, I contributed in that actual calendar year, $9,112.27. So a lot. And then I also had this rollover that year of $2,963.49. So almost $3,000 was rolled over into this account from my job because I had set up a 401k, which got rolled over to a different IRA. But then my Roth contributions from that account, which had started kind of later, were rolled over to this account. So that was great. I was like, oh man, I put so much money into this account in 1 year, like over $11,000. And the max contributions for that account were $6,000. So that's how I kind of managed to put in so much in 1 year. Part of it was a rollover, part of it was maxing out the previous year, and then part was maxing out 2021. So basically from 2020 onward, I tried to max out the account every single year, and that's what I'm going to be doing going forward. So 2020 max, 2021 max, and then you can see in 2022, I also maxed it out really early. I put in 3,100, and then I put in 922 and 1978, and I had maxed out the contributions for 2022. Max that year was $6,000, so maxed it as soon as I could. For me personally, it took a couple months, but that was really great, and I was happy to have it done early on and have my money in the market working for me when I could. Of course, that was also a terrible year for my returns and the market in general, so I had like months where I was losing $8,000, $3,000, $5,000. It was a very interesting year, a lot of ups and downs this year. But I'd already maxed out my account, so I couldn't do anything. I couldn't like change things up. I'd already put the money in. It was what it was. And seeing that kind of helps me because I've seen over time, I'll have a month where I'm down 8,000, but then I have a month where I'm up 7,000. So it kind of just is what it is. I also wasn't looking at my accounts during this time because it was what it was. Then in 2023, they upped the contribution by $500. So it was then $6,500. And I did do most of it that year. I did not finish my contributions in 2023. So you can see I did like 300, 500, mostly 300, like average per month. And then I tried to kind of ramp it up toward the end of the year to get closer to finishing it. In 2023, the actual calendar year, I put in $5,520. And basically that was $1,000 short of the $6,500 I needed. So then in the January of 2024, I put in $1,280. And basically I have this tendency to finish it up in January for the previous year. But hey, it's getting maxed every year. So 2023, we did it. So then in 2024, they upped the contribution once again to $7,000. So for 2024, I tried to put in $7,000. This was obviously for 2023's max, but then I put in like $952 and then kind of went back to my normal like $300 to $500 a month is kind of what I typically put into this account. And then I did have a month in October where I only put in 50 and I can't remember why, but it is what it is. Then in December, I wasn't super close, but I tried to put as much in as possible to finish out my goal of maxing out by the year. Didn't hit it, but in 2024, in the actual calendar year, I did get over $6,000 contributed. So I got $6,080 of the $7,000 total I could put in. And then because I didn't finish it, you can see, January of 2025 came around and I put in $1,900. I have adopted my own bonus payout in my business. So in December, I do get a bonus. And then I am able to kind of in January, just finish up the contributions that I maybe didn't finish for the year. So I did put in so far this year in 2025, over $2,000, but most of that was to finish off my 2024 contributions. So I did hit that $7,000 contributed for 2024 because of that. And now I'm working on my 2025 contributions. So that is literally the last 10 years of my contributions to this account. I hope it's helpful to see, like, you don't always have to be the person that is really on top of things and maxes it out in January and is doing the best they can. And also, sometimes the market goes down and you are not doing as well as times when the market's doing great. Things go up and things go down, and over time, this is something that is going to keep growing and benefit you and benefit the future version of yourself. And that's what keeps me going. Some months I can only put in $25, $50. Some months I have my life and the expenses of life take over and I can't fully contribute to this, and that's okay. Over time, those amounts have added up. So I'm really happy that I have $91,000 in this account, and 10 years ago, I had $10,000. So maybe I wasn't the best at contributing to this account every single year. I had some years where I wish I put in more, but now I'm seeing the returns on the previous years start to snowball. Even those years when I didn't put in a lot, they're starting to add up because I started 10 years ago at $10,500. And now I'm at $91,000. And while that might not seem like a lot to some people, that's a lot for me. As someone that has had years where I haven't had much income at all, I'm really happy with this. So 2024 was a game changer for the growth on this account. I contributed $6,000 in the actual calendar year, and then I finished maxing out my contribution in January of 2025. So I put in $6,000 in 2024, but the account earned over 20. It was a fantastic year for the stock market, and that reflected in this account and honestly grew it a ton. Having the account grow over 3 times what I put into the account for the year was fantastic. But when we look back over 10 years, we can see that the actual rate of return I'm getting is not really 30% every year. Of course, we've had some down years and we've had some changes in what I'm investing in. So over the last 10 years, it's been closer to 9%, between 9 and 10%. So we can see when we look over a longer time frame, 10 years of investing, where we had that little, dip in 2022, we actually have a different rate of return, and that is 9.7%. And that's $35,000 that I've earned from returns and compound interest and all of the dividends that have gone back into this account. So that's nothing to sneeze at. $35,000 is great, and especially when I wasn't maxing it out every single year. And now I want to talk about a couple things that if you are a new investor, you might want to think about, and ways to avoid some of my mistakes and improve your own Roth IRA or any investment account you have. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not actual advice. This is just what I have kind of seen as the key takeaways from my time investing over 10 years, and things have been very up and down, but over time, I have still gotten that almost 10% return on my investments that historically they say you can get. So the first thing, start investing early as you can. It is so imperative to have money in the market over time versus trying to time the market. The money that you put in early will compound so much more than anything you put in later. I feel like now I'm playing catch up because I did have all of those years where I either did not have a job, didn't make enough money, had a baby, bought a house. All of those things that stopped me from fully contributing to this account mean that now I'm trying to catch up as much as possible with my overall investments. But at the same time, you can also see that even though I didn't contribute a ton a lot of those years, small amounts add up over time, and whatever you can put in is amazing. So put in that $50, put in that $25, put in whatever you have for the month, and over time it will grow and it will snowball. Number 2, keep it simple. I love index funds. I obviously have a lot invested into VTSAX, which is my favorite. It's a total market fund. And I think it's been super simple to just put money into this over time. When I was picking stocks, some of those did great. I did earn money. I did get a good return. But I also had some that were losers that lost me money. And honestly, the time that I put into picking and buying and selling was not worth it. And keeping it simple was definitely the way to go. Having 1 to 3 index funds to cover whatever you need in your own risk tolerance is the right way to go. It's so much simpler and you don't have to worry about these accounts. Number 3, avoid withdrawing money if you can. I know it's amazing to have it as a resource, to have this as almost like a backup emergency fund because you can withdraw contributions after 5 years with no penalty, but that also means you won't be earning on those contributions over time. I do regret taking money out of this account early on, and I wish I had kept it in. I wish I had never taken money out, and if you can avoid doing that, I highly recommend it. My early mistakes will cost me a lot in the long run, and one of the reasons why I'm trying to play catch up. So if you can avoid taking out your contributions and just let that money ride until retirement age, such a great idea. Do it. Number 4, stay consistent. Whatever amount you can contribute every single year, keep contributing that amount. Increase it if you're not maxing out this account, but just make sure that every single time that you're getting paid, you're putting money in. If you've already maxed out the account for this current year, start saving up to max it out in January for the next year. This is something that you can work on and figure out your schedule and make it work for you. But the real key is just to stay consistent, invest over time, invest early, invest often. Just keep your investments going. Timing the market generally doesn't work for most people, and what matters most is the time in the market. So having your investments already out there and working for you is the best thing you can do. And to do that, you need to be consistent with putting money in, purchasing the investments, and just letting it ride. If you are new to investing and all of this still sounds really overwhelming and scary, don't let that stop you. Getting started is key. Honestly, if you can only open up your account, I have a video on that, on how to open up an account, and just put $20 in. You can give up $20, and once you have that money in, it gets a little bit easier over time. I remember being a little nervous when I first put money in, but now, decades later, it really doesn't faze me when my accounts drop by thousands of dollars or go up by thousands of dollars. I've seen it all, and over time, being consistent, that has definitely gotten rid of the fear for me, because I know that even though I've not been perfect with this account, I've made a lot of mistakes, my money is still invested and growing, and over time, it has done well, and it will continue to do so. I know that my future self will thank me, and yours will thank you as well if you get started. So definitely let this be your sign to open up a Roth IRA and start contributing. If you found this video helpful, definitely give it a like and subscribe to Pennies Not Perfection. I will be sharing more videos like this in the future, and I would love to have you along. If you want to learn more about this type of account, definitely watch this video next.